In Tragedy, a true crime podcast, we discuss crimes that may be violent in nature. At times, we may cover homicides, missing people, and other topics that may be unsettling. Listener discretion is advised. Before we get started, we want to give a few thank yous and some updates. So first, thank you to all of our new listeners. We are so grateful that you are listening to our stories and learning more about our families. It's so important to us. Also, we know that lots of people have questions. So we're getting questions through our email, through Spotify, and we are working on an episode where we answer your questions. So
that's right.
Stay tuned for that. That's coming up. We do have some updates. So for Jody Kilgore, we know that the birthday celebration just happened, but it's also important for people who are local to know that there is also a vigil that is always held on the day of Jody's homicide, which is October 6th. And it's usually at the courthouse right there in Wakulla County. So we'll get some more information from the family as we get closer to that, but you might just want to save the date for that. And, you know, we want to have a lot of people there to support Gladys and Cindy and Robin and everybody. Also, some exciting stuff is going on with some other podcasters who specialize in missing persons cases. So we're currently working with some other podcasters to get some more exposure on Ian's case too. So things are happening in the background. I just want to keep you guys updated on those things. And then also we have some information and some things that are going on from law enforcement. You want to share those?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that seems to be interesting to us is as both of these cases have started to get additional exposure, we've noticed that congruently that law enforcement communication has also been increasing. We've been sending a lot of our episodes to the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office to get that exposure and to help them understand that we're very interested in moving these cases forward. We've been disappointed in the past about their reactions, or maybe more importantly, their lack of reaction. But now we're starting to hear from various members of that law enforcement community, including the sheriff himself.
Yeah, that was an exciting email to get. So let's just talk about what's coming up today. So today we are starting a new missing persons case, and this is a collaboration with our folks from Sunshine State Sonar.
Nice. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Tragedy, a true crime podcast. I'm Elisa.
And I'm Michael.
And tonight we have a really fun and unique opportunity to do a collaboration with an organization you've probably heard of before, Sunshine State Sonar. And we want to welcome Mike and Shelly to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
We're so excited to do this collaboration with you. And we are going to be covering a cold case, missing person named Michael John Olson out of West Palm Beach, Florida. So before we get into that case, Mike, if you can tell us a little bit about Sunshine State Sonar.
Yeah, Sunshine State Sonar is a private company made up of volunteers, and we're a pretty small team, probably about 6 or 7 of us, and we work cold cases, specifically cases. These are vehicular missing persons cases where people went missing and their vehicles had never been recovered. We work with detectives, cold case detectives. We work with families. And sometimes we work on these cases, just on our own. But for the most part, we usually have cooperation from at least one side. And, we basically go to the area where these people were reported missing, and we try to retrace their steps and, go back to that time when they went missing, looking at the landscape, what bodies of water were there at the time. Lots changed throughout the years, and we try to retrace their steps. We search all the water using sonar, within 20 miles of the person's last known whereabouts or their disappearance, in hopes of finding their vehicle. And the goal of it is, if we locate their vehicle, we're hoping that we would be able to recover their remains. And so we've been doing this since 2023. We started at end of 2022, and so we're just entering our 3rd year now. And we're all good friends. It's like I said, a small bunch of friends that do this stuff, and we love doing it. We're so passionate about, helping these families out. And it's why we do it. And it's, we've, had quite a bit of success throughout these last 3 years. I don't think any of us thought that we would have the level of success that we did. We look forward to the future. We know the future's bright, and we're just going to keep doing this. The Michael John Olson case is one of our favorite ones to work on. So.
Yeah, so we learned about you guys from the Ian Rogers missing person case out of Wakulla County. And we could tell from talking with Shelley and how she talks about the organization, and Teresa, Ian's mom, just the passion that you guys bring to the work. And so when we thought about what we wanted to do next moving forward with our work, it's really important for us that we are not, we're really focusing on the victim, right? And telling the story and their family and those close to them, and bringing that human perspective. And I can hear that is really important to you as well. So we're really excited to collaborate with you all on this case.
Yeah.
All right. So can you give us a brief summary about Michael's disappearance?
Yeah. Do you want me to do it, or? Yeah, sure. I can do it if you want. So yeah, Michael John Olson went missing back in December of 1979. He had decided to take a year off from college, moved from Minnesota down to West Palm Beach, and got a job at the Presidential Golf Club in West Palm Beach. This is a, very affluent golf club, and he was there working as a golf caddy, I believe. And he was hanging out with a lot of the other young kids or guys that were working there at the time. And one night in December, they all had a night out for drinks and decided to go to a dog track there in West Palm Beach. Michael had been another guy named Jim, and they left Michael's vehicle at the parking lot to the Belvedere Baptist Church, which is just outside the dog track, the kennel club. After a night out, they end up going back to that parking lot of the Belvedere Baptist Church where Jim says that he dropped Michael off to pick up his vehicle. And Michael was never seen again after that. So Jim claims he went home. And at the time, Michael, because he was so new to the area, he was actually living in a hotel. It was a Howard Johnson's hotel, which was just a few miles away. It wasn't far. Everything is in pretty close proximity, between the golf club where he was working. And they've never found Michael's vehicle. At the time, he was driving a really nice car. It was a brand new 1979 Pontiac Grand Prix. And, we got involved in that case about a year ago. I'll let Shelley continue to tell a little more about it. But I know that we've done quite a bit of work on this case, and we've located over 40 submerged vehicles in this area. Unfortunately, none of the vehicles that we found were Michael's. But yeah.
Shelley, did you want to go ahead and pick up on that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of vehicles found. Like majority of what we found was in the Southern Boulevard Canal. I think we took one day, and it was like, what, 42? I think it was like 42 cars or something, Mike, and we one by one, we would do like 3 at a time. We would put buoys on them. Mike would do the scanning, the sonar find them, drop the magnet and the buoy on them, and then we would just dive them a couple at a time. And then once those were done, we knew what they were. We were tracking all the stuff. I'm keeping track of it on my phone. Each car, make, model, all this stuff. And then we keep moving, and it's like 3 or 4 at a time, dive them, move on. I mean, it was tedious work, tedious searching. But yeah, it doesn't make sense with everything that's been searched on this case, why he hasn't been found yet. We truly came into this case thinking, oh, this is going to be a one-day solve. Like this is, we know exactly where he's going to be, and we go out there, we search it, and then it's kept going from there. And we're not done. We have a map, and we're always finding new locations. We compare it to historic maps, aerial maps, to see what was there back then, how the land has changed. The theory at this point is, could he have taken a wrong turn? He was new to the area, like Mike said. He'd only been in West Palm Beach for maybe 2 weeks, and it was nighttime. Brand new car. He'd supposedly gotten a speeding ticket on his way to Fort Lauderdale. We don't know exactly where this was. So we know he's doing pedal to the metal in this brand new car. And it just makes every bit of sense. It lines up with everything we look for in these kind of cases, like for an accident situation. So at this point, it's just like we're still trying to carry the torch and expand our search area to see what we can find.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying from a geographical perspective. What you're saying in some of the background information I've already collected is these points are very close to each other. So I can see what you're saying. Hey, it's going to be somewhere in this region, and then when it's not, then you're saying, okay, well, it was dark. They've been out. He might have gone the wrong way. Who knows how far he went the wrong way before he figured it out? Maybe tried to turn around and get back, and then ended up in some kind of body of water.
When you said things have changed from, then to now, when it comes to water, what has changed?
Yes, a lot of the lakes, if you look at the maps today, a lot of these ponds and small lakes that are there now, they were not there in 1979. So there's a lot of new ones. So using, the right year maps, and we do have the maps for 79. Shelley's done an amazing job on that, mapping this out. She's done so much work on it. And there's probably 50% more water now than there was then. And then also some of these bodies of water have been filled in. With development going on, construction, they end up filling these bodies of water in. And so, we hope and pray that, he didn't end up in one of those bodies of water, because if that's the case, he would most likely never be found. But we don't think that's the case. There's still lots of water to search in that area. It's Florida, it's West Palm Beach, and you've got, bodies of water at almost every intersection there.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine who lives down there, and all I remember, the times I've been there and the times that we visited her, it's just water and canals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, she lived in one of those neighborhoods that's right on one of these canals.
Yeah. This is one of those cases. It's like, just like so many others, they're not all like this, but, it's a 50-50 split. Is this an accident or is this foul play? Did something else happen to him? When we work these cases, I think a lot of times, we're 90% leaning in one direction. This is just one of those cases we can't lean in one direction. We're kind of caught in the middle.
When you're talking about foul play, you're thinking about the newness of the vehicle. And then I also think I remember hearing something about how he had some cash on him that night. I mean, what doesn't seem like a lot of cash now, but probably seemed like more then, and that he was making it pretty visible, the cash.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And it's funny because the picture that I have of this group of people that he was with, everybody paints a different picture. Some people think that these guys would have robbed him and killed him for his money. I'm thinking, this is the Presidential Golf Club in West Palm Beach. These kids that he was hanging out with, they all came from very affluent families with money.
Yeah.
These are people that don't have criminal past. They're not dirtbags. And so that's the impression I get. But other people that, are sort of been investigating this case feel the other way. And they think West Palm Beach was a very seedy area. There was a lot of criminal activity going on, and stuff like that. Obviously we weren't around West Palm Beach in that, during the 1979. So it's like, sometimes I think more of this is an accident, more than foul play. I did speak to Jim, the guy that he was last with that night. And, I didn't get any vibes from him that set off to me. I didn't get any vibes that he would have done anything to him. That's my personal opinion, but everybody feels different on the case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So while you were doing this search for Michael, what really stood out to you the most? What do you remember just like really standing out when you were down there?
The thing for me was the fact that once we ruled out, it was really quick to rule out his route from the Belvedere Baptist Church. And I think right off the bat, we knew that he did not go back to the hotel, and he had either other intentions or something else happened to him. And that is definitely a fact. So he's not between the hotel and there. And to me, that's something that's big. A lot of these people are right between their locations. He's not there. So now we have to think, which direction did he go? North, south, east, or west? He could have gone any direction from there. And, unfortunately, these old cases, they don't have cell phone ping data. There's no toll booths. There's no license plate readers. So, I mean, it's a guess on which direction we're going to search next.
So you spoke a little bit about Jim, who was with him the night that he disappeared. We also know that there's someone really important to this story, and that person's name is Paige. So can you tell us who Paige is and what his connection is to this case?
Yeah, Paige he's a family friend, and he sort of represents the family. He's a great guy. If this case is ever solved, I always say it's going to be because of Paige, because Paige brought awareness to this case. Here we are 40-something years later, and Paige continues to be the advocate for this family and bring light to this case. So many of these older cases, we see it all the time. They die out, and nobody cares anymore. But with the Michael John Olson case, this guy has been a warrior, keeping this alive for this family. He represents the family. He is the middleman contact between Michael's nieces, Michael's brother. So he's always been our go-to guy. He's done everything he can to investigate this case on behalf of the family himself. Like, for his whole life, he's been working on this case. So I know that it would mean so much to him to see Michael found and to see this through to the end. He's just, he'd be more than willing to talk to you guys and come on a podcast. He's always doing stuff to bring awareness to this case. So great guy.
What about law enforcement? Like, what kind of actions have law enforcement had? Obviously, this is a cold case. Is this a case that we have access to the files? I mean, what type of information do we have access to from a law enforcement perspective?
You want to touch on that one, Shelley? You want me? You want me to say something about that?
Opened up an interesting debate here.
We know how this goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure we could both touch on that a little bit. So I guess the first thing that I did want to throw in there, the saddest thing about this case to me is that Michael's parents passed away, both of them, without ever knowing what happened to their son. And that just changes things, and it's like, it makes it even more significant, the fact that Paige is trying to see this through and still trying to have some, if we can, the family involvement, things like that. But it's sad and tragic when you think about that, because we always try to catch those cases before it happens. We have another case where the mother is elderly, and we've been trying to find her daughter, and it's sad when you think about that whole situation. But as far as law enforcement and information, things like that, we were able to get the original police reports for this case. I have it. I think it's about 19 to 20 some pages long. They did fly helicopters over the area of West Palm Beach looking for his vehicle. As far as I know, they had proper VIN, identification information for this vehicle. So I think if it had been picked up somewhere, it would have been noticed. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show you that I think if we can find the vehicle, we can find him. As far as law enforcement goes, I think that in the very beginning, they did what they could with the resources that they had. But it wasn't as much, especially with the significant amount of water in that area. Cooperation with law enforcement has been kind of nil. So it's kind of a sore subject for us with West Palm Beach, because, the county, we have a decent relationship with the county. They've always been awesome towards us, but within city limits, things like that, it tends to get a little bit more ego, a little bit more pushback on that end. And, kind of like, what are you guys doing over here in these waters, So we just roll with it. It's like we have our reason. We're here. We have our goal. So we're going to do what we have to do to try to find them, regardless whether they want us there or not.
Yeah. And, I'll say this too, is when it comes to these older cases, when we work on these older cases, we always get pushback because, the older cases, a lot of times, some of these agencies don't have cold case units. And so we know there's people being reported missing on a daily basis. And so a lot of these older cases kind of get forgotten in a way. And when we bring them up in certain areas, it doesn't go over well sometimes, because it's just like, a lot of these agencies they don't have the resources to work on these older cases. And we do get pushback because obviously we're not law enforcement, and sometimes we go into these areas and they don't like it, but we do this for the families, and we're going to do, whatever it takes to help find whoever it is that we're looking for.
So actually, I have a question that I just thought of based on what you guys were just saying and this conversation about law enforcement. Do you have to get permits or anything, or do you just take your stuff and get going? How does that work for you when you're searching?
Yeah, we just take our stuff and we get going. We, Shelly draws up the game plan and on the mapping, and that's it. As soon as we get there, we hit the ground running. It's searching water immediately from the time we get there, diving cars, whatever it takes. We're very aggressive with our approach on finding these people. Very aggressive. And that's been a key to our success.
And have you had situations where law enforcement or media or looky-loos show up and try to keep you from doing what you're doing or get in the way or those kinds of things?
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time. We get police called on us sometimes. It's, because you got to think about a lot of these, especially when you work in affluent communities, because, there's homeowners associations and stuff like that. And, you can't ask permission on every one of these places you go because nobody's going to let you in. You just got to go do it, get it done quick, and try to get out of there as quick as you can,
It sounds like the same strategy I have when I fish. Yeah. There's areas that I go and I was like, I really want to fish there. How many fish can I catch? And to the homeowners association runs me off.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I want to go back to Paige for a minute. Is there anything like a revelation or something specific that really stood out to you in speaking with Paige, or something that really resonated with you?
I think Paige feels, and I don't want to speak for him, but I really believe that he's leaning towards foul play. He believes something bad happened to Michael. I know that's his general thought, and he gets very frustrated and sometimes disappointed, and just like us. I mean, he's got high hopes. When we're out there searching that water, he's by the phone waiting for the answers. It's like, Paige, we're diving on a car here. We have a car here. And he knows that any one of those cars could be Michael's car. And this whole thing could be over within seconds. And so it's, you're sitting on pins and needles. Imagine him. He's been living this case for 40-something years. And so, I mean, he's like I said, he's so passionate about this and finding, but yeah, and it seems like that's the way he's going. He's very knowledgeable about it. He's got a lot of people involved as well that, he talks, and he's got, people that he's discussing the case with and stuff like that.
I think we're going to have a real strong kinship with Paige. This
agree.
is exactly what we did with Ian. What we thought was going to be just a 1-episode discussion with Ian's mom turned out to be 8 or 9 podcast episodes.
I think we're 8 or 9 episodes on Ian.
We had so much interest in that particular case that we invited some of our listeners to a roundtable discussion and talked the case over with them, and got some great things that we took back to Ian's family, and some really good ideas from them. So I feel like we're going to find that we have a lot of commonalities with Paige.
Yeah.
So we're definitely speaking with Paige. Are there other people that you would suggest that we reach out to?
You could try Jim. You could try Jim. I might have his number.
Okay.
He's the person that he was last with that night. He spoke to me on the phone. I talked to him. I don't know if he'd be willing to go on a podcast, because I think, I know that he knows a lot of people believe that he's responsible for Michael's disappearance.
Yeah.
I think that would be anybody's general thought, though. I mean, it's like any other case. When a wife goes missing, the first person I got to look at is the spouse, or the last person to see him. So it's just in nature. of having those thoughts, you know what I mean? But it's really 50-50 for, I think, a lot of us on this case. We've bounced back and forth. We've leaned this way, we've leaned that way. I feel like in my heart, personally, it makes so much sense that it would have been an accident. Everything points to it, but then it's like I start second guessing that. I'm like, well, of course, because I feel like that it wouldn't be, you know? Because we've had so many curveballs thrown at us with some of these cases. It's wild. Like there's been some where we believed they were accident, they weren't, and then vice versa. Some cases we were absolutely convinced that, you know, something nefarious happened to these people, and it just turned out to be a simple accident. You know, even law enforcement was convinced it was foul play, and it's like it was a simple accident. So it's like we've definitely been throwing some curveballs, and we're learning constantly with each one of these cases.
No, and it makes sense. We've had this discussion many times with both the Ian Rogers and the Jody Kilgore case, and people, you know, they're like, "Do you think it's foul play?" You know, with Ian, do you think it's, you know, accident? And my comment is always the same: if we knew, we'd probably be able to find him.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I wish I knew the answer to that. So we can only speculate, and until we know the answer, it's not likely that, you know, it gives us the right direction to search. And I would suspect it's the same in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No, we've taken every opportunity we look at both angles of it, whether this was an accident or foul play. We look at both, and we're like, okay, this spot right here, this is more of a foul play spot. This is secluded. This isn't an accident spot. This is somewhere where somebody goes to hide something. And we search those too, because we leave everything open. We're searching accident and foul play locations. So it's like, we don't know for sure either. So we have to keep it all on the table.
Is there anything that you wanted to add that we have not asked, something that we have forgotten about that is important for us to know?
I know one of the things that you're asking, you know, sticks out to me. When I think of this case, I think of Michael being, and I remember what it was like to be, you know, his age, driving a fast car. Here's a kid that's had his license less than 2 years. He's driving a brand new car, a fast car. That's not a very, you know, agile car. It's a Grand Prix. He already has a speeding ticket. So we know that this kid, you know, has a tendency of driving fast. Now you're mixing alcohol, and possibly, we don't know, possibly he could have taken some type of drugs. He was at a club that night. We don't know, you know, what had happened that night. I mean, he's out partying, having a good time. You know, you think of all these things, and then you think of the middle of the night. You know, one of the things all our cases have in common is that these people go missing in the middle of the night. And why is that? Because there's no witnesses when the car drives into the water. You never see any of these cases where someone goes missing in their vehicle in broad daylight, because somebody would see the car go into the water and sinking in most, you know, most of the time, probably 95% of the time or so. But, you know, this meets all the criteria of being one of our classic accident cases in the middle of the night with no witnesses. We thought, for that reason alone, we thought that we were going to find them by now. Very shocking that we haven't found them.
Did someone happen to, I'm sure you did this, what were the weather conditions that day?
They were nice. They were a little cool. I remember it was December, so it was, you know, not that cold. I don't remember what the exact temperature was, but it wasn't like freezing or anything like that. Michael could have drove around with the windows down, listening to music. I know when I was his age, I would drive around all night. You know, sometimes if I was out until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and I had to be at work the next day, yeah, I'd turn up the music and go for a cruise around the back roads. You know, and there's a road that goes around Clear Lake. Unfortunately, it's the city's drinking water, so we can't get into that lake. You know, we did do it with an electric trolling motor, but the problem is the vegetation's so tall. You're going to need a magnetometer, because this car could be buried in the vegetation in Clear Lake.
Yeah, the reason I asked about the weather is because I am not from Florida. Michael is. And so he talks a lot about hydroplaning. You know, when it rains in Colorado, you drive. It doesn't matter. But in Florida, you have to be careful. You don't just go, you know, zipping off the road and hydroplaning. And so I'm wondering if it was raining that night, if, you know, we're thinking about the accident.
Yeah.
If anybody knows about that.
It wasn't raining. I know that for a fact. There was no rain.
Yeah, at one point we did look it up, and I don't believe it was raining. No.
Yeah. I'm positive you covered all the bases. It just kind of came to me as you were talking through.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good question to ask. Like that's why me and Mike like discussing these cases. We sit on the phone for hours sometimes, going back and forth. We play off each other's ideas because he may see something on the map that I don't, or notice something and be like, hey, what about this spot? Vice versa with me, or just ideas or theories. So it's like you play off of each other's ideas, and it's,
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
We have a body of water that you can't search effectively that's right in the general area. Has there been any talks or any considerations of some kind of other technology that could be used to search that area?
Yeah, we need to get somebody in with a magnetometer. This area has a lot of vegetation, and there's areas, that's the one frustrating thing about this case is we have areas that we really need to search, and we just can't get into them because, like, one of them is, like I said, the town drinking water. The other one's out in front of so it's actually a federal facility. It's like a water treatment plant, and that's like right there. They're curving the road. We don't know if it was fenced in back in '79. You can't tell that from the images, but yeah, there's some bodies of water that are strong possibilities, and it's just a bummer we can't get into them.
What is that one technology that somebody brought up during the listener roundtable? I don't know if that LiDAR. I don't even know if that's right. We joked about this person when they brought it up in the listener roundtable because we've only heard it in conjunction with like some sort of, what is it? Some conspiracy theory about pyramids or something.
They're talking about the pillars of the pyramids.
Kind of pillars.
Oh,
And so I don't know about LiDAR. It seems that it can look through ground or something like that, but it's probably like thousands of millions of billions of dollars.
yeah, we need to do something about that vegetation in there because it's, you think that's the largest body of water to where he went missing. And it would make so much sense that he went for a cruise because the road just wraps around the lake. It will, it's be a nice drive with the windows down, music cranking, young kid. I can see it. I can still see it happening, but can we get in there someday?
That's December in Florida instead of December in Minnesota.
Yeah, December in Florida is beautiful. Temperatures in the 70s.
Florida.
Gorgeous.
Oh, we know. Anything else that you have thought about that we did not have a chance to ask?
I'm just trying to think. What do you think, Shelley?
One thing that I did want to bring up is so there's a little bit of miscommunication or misinformation. I don't know if we ever got a for sure timeline of exactly when he got dropped off at that vehicle. He had to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Supposedly he had a very strict boss. So if we're talking 1 or 2 in the morning getting dropped off, yeah, you got time to go back, catch some sleep. Or if you want to go for a cruise, that was one of the theories that we had. Did he go for a nighttime cruise? He wanted to get on a strip and, pedal to the metal just for a little bit before he goes back to his hotel. But if this was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, most people are going to go back to their hotel, like not necessarily spend more time going for a cruise, especially if you got to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of the things that's like kind of trips us up a little bit because like, where are you going to go at that time of night besides just going for a quick cruise? You know what I mean? Because it was such a short distance between where he was supposedly dropped off and the hotel. Not many accident spots between that. So it's either wrong turn or went for a cruise. If it is an accident is what we've always thought. But yeah, the time frame of it is interesting. And there was apparently a report of a scuffle that was heard in the parking lot of the Hojo, the Howard Johnson Hotel that night. I guess the people either in the room next to Michael John Olson or above it, I can't remember specifically which one, they heard a scuffle. I don't know if they seen anything. I don't know if they reported it. They just kind of blew it off. But that was something that was said. So it's like, did something else happen? But even still, where's the car?
Right.
I believe a hotel key was found in the parking lot, but I don't believe it was his.
If it is foul play, I believe either way, like I feel real strongly that car is in the water. And we may someday come across it working another case in another county. If something did happen that night in the hotel parking lot, he got in an altercation with someone and they murdered him and took his car and, dumped it into a canal somewhere, I think eventually we will come across it.
You've been listening to Tragedy, a true crime podcast. Our purpose is to honor victims by sharing their stories through the voices of friends, family, and those whose lives were forever changed. If today's episode resonated with you, we encourage you to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast so that these important stories continue to be heard. Together, we can preserve their memories and ensure their voices are never forgotten. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time.